The announcement of Donald Trump's tariffs on British goods, a 10% levy on products entering the United States, is a stark reminder of the chaos that the UK finds itself in after years of governmental indecision. While the tariff could have been worse, the fact remains that British businesses are facing yet another economic blow in a series of ongoing trade struggles. And the real scandal here is not just the tariffs themselves but the utter failure of the UK government, particularly the Tories, to secure a trade deal with the US long before now. The simple fact is this: had the Conservative government not squandered precious years dithering over Brexit, we would have already established a free trade deal with the US. It's a failure so catastrophic that it threatens the very foundation of the UK's post-Brexit economy. While the 10% tariffs on British goods may seem more palatable than the 20% levied on the European Union, they are still an economic setback. For all the talk of taking back control and independence, the reality is that the UK is paying the price for a government that has failed to act decisively and strategically in a fast-changing global economy. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, rightly points out that had the Tories acted swiftly after Brexit, Britain would have already secured a trade deal with the United States, one that would shield the country from these damaging tariffs. But the reality is far different. Instead of seizing the opportunity created by Brexit to strengthen ties with major global economies, the Conservative government has been marked by delays, weak leadership, and a complete lack of direction. Farage's comments echo a broader frustration that has grown over the years. Brexit was meant to unlock a world of new opportunities, but instead, it has left Britain vulnerable and exposed. The Labour Party's scrambling to strike a deal with the US as the tariffs loom larger only adds to the confusion. While Starmer's acknowledgement that the UK will face an economic hit from these tariffs is hardly a revelation, his lack of urgency or clear strategy to secure a better deal is telling. The UK is not just dealing with economic turbulence, it is facing a government that seems perpetually caught off guard and unable to take meaningful action. The Prime Minister's decision to engage in talks with the US rather than retaliate immediately might seem measured, but it also reflects the same passivity that has characterized the government's approach to Brexit negotiations from the start. The fundamental problem here is leadership, or the distinct lack of it. Starmer's lukewarm rhetoric on the tariffs and the Prime Minister's cautious, almost timid stance only reinforce the perception that the UK is a passive player in the global economy, rather than a country that should be leading from the front. Retaliation may not always be the answer, but Britain needs a government that is fully prepared to fight tooth and nail for its national interests. Instead, what we get is another round of empty promises and vague assurances that the situation will be dealt with. It's not enough to simply fight for a deal. The government must prove it is capable of securing a meaningful, long-term agreement that benefits British businesses, and the time to act was long ago. The Tories may claim that leaving the EU has given Britain a stronger position on trade, but the reality is that the current government has failed to capitalize on this so-called strength. The US, one of the most important trade partners for Britain, remains out of reach, with no free trade agreement to speak of. Worse still, the government has offered no concrete plan to address the tariffs or to prevent further economic damage. Kemi Badenoch's assertion that leaving the EU has left us in a stronger position on trade is true only in theory. The actual execution of this new, independent trade policy has been sluggish and ineffective, leading to frustration not just within political circles but across the business community as well. What's worse is the lack of a clear strategy to remove the tariffs or prevent further damage to the economy. The government must do more than talk about a trade deal. It must deliver one. And yet, the Prime Minister's approach continues to be one of reactive diplomacy instead of proactive leadership. The Tories seem content to merely talk about the benefits of their policies without following through on the actions that are required to secure those benefits. Time and again, this government has shown itself to be all talk and no substance. If the UK is to navigate the post-Brexit world successfully, it must have leaders who are willing to step up, take risks, and negotiate deals that will protect British businesses, not leave them exposed to foreign tariffs. The tariffs imposed by Trump are a wake-up call, but the government's response to them so far has been insufficient. It is clear that the current leadership is unable to secure a trade deal with the US that will put British interests first. With each delay and each missed opportunity, the government places the future of Britain's economy further at risk. The tariffs will not just hurt our businesses, they will hurt our workers, families, and communities. A truly independent Britain cannot afford to be weak on the world stage. If the Tories and Labour can't manage this crucial issue, It will be up to a new generation of leaders to pick up the slack and make sure Britain gets the fair deal it deserves. The question is, will they be bold enough to act before it's too late?